I like it rough.
Illustrations by me.
Get your mind out of the gutter. Can't take you people anywhere. I will let you know that this video is brought to you by the letter A. I'm kidding. It's brought to you by Bob and Brad. They've sent me something. We're going to get into that. Don't worry about that in a second. I'm talking about paper. I like rough paper. Ever since I started watercoloring, I noticed that I either go for the really hot press, and then I would use the cold press and say, yeah, but if I want it to be like that, and maybe I'll go all the way with it and go to the rougher side. I like the texture that rough paper creates. Now, if you use granulating paints, you will see a wonderful display of granulating paint on hot press paper, on smooth hot press paper. But on rough paper, it's a different dimension. It creates so much texture, which I like because it shows me where to put my lines, and I especially like it for landscapes and things like that, but also for abstracts. I'm going to create some work on this. Now, this book is from Shizen. They have a terrible review on, if you go on Amazon, look up their reviews, it's terrible for this paper. I'm gonna put it to the test because I love rough paper. So if this will work the way that I want it to, I'll be happy. But people say it doesn't really absorb the paint, it doesn't absorb the water, it just kind of sits on top, takes forever to dry. And that may mean that it's not a good plein air book, but maybe it's good in the studio. I use a little fan to dry my watercolor before I go in with the line work. So maybe, we'll see. And I want to know from you, I'm going to do a little tutorial also, but hold on. I want to know from you, what do you like better? A lot of you told me in the past that you like hot press, and a lot of you tell me that you like cold press, and a lot of you say you like rough paper. I love rough paper. I like all paper. I'm a paper person. So what I like may not be the exact thing that you like, but it depends on how you're using it. If I wanted to draw something with a lot of tiny, tiny detail, very fine detail, and get very close lines next to each other, I might use hot press. But if I'm doing something where I don't care and I want the paint to create the texture, and that's why I'm doing this tutorial today, because I'm going to show you how the paint creates the texture. Someone was asking, how do you create the stuff that you're creating? What do you do when you create that stuff? So I was going to do something completely different in this video, but instead, I'm going to show you how I've been creating the type of things that I normally create that you've seen in the past several videos, I guess, doing the Da Vinci paints. I'm going to use this to create with, and I'm going to be using some regular old paints that I have sitting around. Some are very granulating, some are not granulating. You can still use non-granulating with this and create texture. That's what I like about rough paper. It's wonderful. It's a teacher. It's like you have a lesson book here when you paint with rough paper. It's wonderful. I hope you enjoy it. But they say that you can't really use this paper with regular techniques. I'm going to put that to the test. I want to see. I've been looking at this book for 10 years. I'll be very disappointed if it doesn't do what I want it to do. I finally got my hands on it and said, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm just going to get it and do it. It's a thick book. It's 300 GSM, 100% cotton. There's 24 sheets, but it's so thick. It's really thick paper. We'll see what I can do with it. But first, Bob and Brad have sent me my dream massager here. I have already used, and this is one that I could get back in the box, so you won't have to see an outtake of me trying to get the thing in the box. I can get it in the box. It's very easy to do. So this is an eye massage. It's a face eye massager. You have no idea what you're in for if you've never tried one of these. I will tell you right now, I have used it. My wife has used it. I barely got it back from her so I could do the video here. But it comes, of course, with instruction manual. It did come in a bag. I took it out of the bag. But it comes in this little carry case, just a little tiny thing like this. You open it up, and it also, there's some features on it. We're going to go into it. So it has, this is the charger for it. I've taken out of there because I used a different charger. It comes with this little mask thing, which is a gel mask. It's ice cold. So you can do this cold or warm, depending on whether you want to decrease puffiness. You might use something colder, something a little bit cool. This mask right here is a gel mask. And it has, you can't see it, but there's gel all around your eye, but there's nothing where your eye actually sits. So it goes all around your eye. Wonderful. You don't need to use it. This is the thing here. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I left the sticker on. It's okay, we're gonna take the sticker off. It tells you what to do and what the controls are. Anyway, okay, so the charger is under here, but then the power button is right here. Hold on, let me see if I can get this close enough to the mic.
Bob and Brad eye massager is on. Air pressure plus heat plus music.
Did you hear that? Do you hear the music? And the thing, you can see the thing inflating here. The pads inflate around the eye. You can see it better this way. So the pads, this is the pad that inflates here and kind of massages all around your eye socket in the center here. Oh my goodness, it goes in different waves, different sections do it. And you could just sit there. I sit there for a long time with it on. And of course it does have the auto shut off feature. Now you go up. Now you can tell, I'm gonna let you hear what it says when you move the little button up.
Moderate pressure. Strong pressure. No pressure. Soft pressure.
So you have no pressure, is if you just want to have it on with the music, just relaxing and heat up on your eyes without having any kind of massaging action. It has low pressure, medium pressure, and high pressure. Wonderful. Then when you press it down on the button,
High heat. No temperature. Low heat. High heat.
so there's only either no heat, low heat, or high heat. I've had it on the high heat. It gets warm. It gets very warm. If you have this thing on, you shouldn't be using the warm thing, I don't think. Anyway, that's what I would say. This is for cool. You have no temperature on there and you put this thing on and it stays cool, but still massages and you hear the music. It's just so wonderful. But this is one of the most relaxing things I've ever experienced in my life. Your eyes completely shut. You have the thing massaging your face with that soft music. They did an amazing job with this. Is my favorite thing that I've got this year from them. This is my favorite one. So hopefully you will enjoy it, and go down below and I'll have the link down there and you can enjoy this thing here. It's amazing. It's gonna go in a special feature as well later down the line on the channel as well. I absolutely love this thing. So head on over to Bob and Brad YouTube channel if you have issues. If you're in pain, the link will be down there with the other link for the eye massager. If you are in pain, go see if they have something that can help you. They have so many videos on so many ways to get out of pain. They're amazing people, amazing team of people. They're wonderful and they really care about you. They want you to be pain-free. And that's why they do things like this and have a ton of free videos for you to just watch and say, maybe if I try this, I won't be in so much pain. And they do help. So please go and visit them. And let's get into the video now. I want to check this paper out. I'm very excited for this paper. So let's get into that. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is take some colors that I know are very granulating, some colors that I know are not granulating at all, and put them on this paper. This is rough paper too. This is the Meeden rough paper. And it does have a lot of texture. But I'm just going to use this, and then we're going to, because I don't know if that other book is going to act right. So I want to show you what the difference is using, I know this will because I've used it before many times, as a matter of fact. So I just want to show you on here what we're looking at. So I'm going to take the EF Brown Iron Oxide. It's the most granulating color that I have, I think, to this day. It's from Daniel Smith. It's a beautiful color, beautiful granulation on here. And just show you what happens when you put it down on the page and then what it does to itself, okay? So we're going to put that down. We're going to let it dry a little bit here. I'm also going to take some water here and put some water down on the page here. It's a little bit muddy, that's okay. And do the same thing with the same color and just put it into here a little bit just to show you some things. So let's just get as much and make them blend together a little bit. That's fine. Okay, so let's just do that as much as I can. I want to just show you what happens here. I'm going to let that dry for a second. We're going to go on to the next one and show you where I come up with what I do. That's important too. So the other thing I'm going to do is take, how I start every piece is just by putting color on a page. I don't plan it usually. Sometimes I know I want it to come, like start up here and then kind of flow down this way, and I kind of make all of the shapes flow in that direction. You've seen that before. Or sometimes I'll say, okay, I want the focus to be right smack dab in the center, and I do that right in the center. And then I just kind of go out from the center and whatever happens, happens. But usually I don't have an idea of what I want to create. I'm just putting the color on the paper and then making shapes around it and seeing what I like to do. You'll see that in this video. When I do this video, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. First, as you can see, this is just painted out and there's quite a bit of water here, but it shows a little bit less granulation. However, it's still very granulating in here, and you can see the texture of the paper helps so much. Here, you can actually see the texture of the paper as it's drying. It's not dry yet, but this will settle. And what happens is you have bigger particles and smaller particles, and so you have this granulating effect, and it can show you that here. Now, another color that does that I'm going to use here too, but the point is it's the paper helping it. So even though this looks smoother, it's still very granulating in here, but it looks smoother, but you can still see all the paper, the kind of the texture of the paper in here. Whereas here, when I put the water down first and then kind of pushed it out, you see that it is very drastic how well that separates. So those are the two different things. Now, if I take a color that has absolutely no granulation, this one here is a transparent pyrrole orange. This is a core color, and there's no granulation here whatsoever. So I'm going to do the same thing and kind of just have this come out a little bit, just like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to put down some water first. Let's get some water down, and then take the same color and kind of just put it out just like that, and then kind of wash it out just like that. Just like I did with this up here. Now let that dry for a second. While I'm letting that dry, I'm going to show you something else. Here is some hot press paper. I'm going to do the same test. Okay, here's some hot press paper. I'm going to do the same test. So I'm going to get plenty of the same color that I used, the brown iron oxide. I did that first, and I went like this and kind of just washed it out like this. Now this is a granulating color. And then we're going to do the same thing with having some water down in here, and then doing the same thing again, just kind of spreading it out a little bit, getting some extra water on it, and spreading it just like that. Same thing here with the transparent pyrrole orange. Okay, now I'm going to put down some water. Oh, I did not rinse that very well at all. That's okay, don't worry about it. I'll put down some water and do the same thing again, and kind of in there and just kind of spread it out. Now, if you notice when you first put it down, it looks like, oh my goodness, there's so much granulation in that. But this is a non-granulating color, fully transparent color, you'll see. So let me let this dry now, and we'll go over to back to the rough paper. Okay, hopefully this is very clear for you, but so we're gonna start out with the rough paper. So you can see this is a very granulating color. With just swatching it out, just plain, you can see a ton of granulation in here. See all the darker spots in here versus the lighter spots, a ton. But it's a very smooth blend. That's something about rough paper, is it's smoother when you blend. I know it sounds contradictory, but it's smoother when you blend. Now over here, this is with a lot of water, and you can still see a lot of texture in here, but it's smooth. It's a smooth kind of a blend. I'll show you the difference here in a second. Move over to the transparent watercolor, and you see it's very smooth, but you see how you can see the paper coming through? Here, same thing where I put all the water. There's a little bit more shadows and light here, but you can see the texture of the paper coming through. I love to see that paper texture come through. I absolutely love when that happens. This just makes it so much more pronounced because this is an extremely granulating paint. So you can see a lot more of the texture come through here, and it looks very, it just looks more texture. You see more of that paper texture here. In contrast, when you look at the hot press, now this is a fine grain paper. It's not like a plate finish. It still has a little bit of fine grain here. Again, you still see all the granulation in here, but none of the paper texture because there's no paper texture. So if you put these together, okay, so all I want to do is look at this part here and this part here. You can see paper texture coming through here. You can see the paper texture here. Here, you don't have a paper texture, but you do see little waves that the paint itself has made. So it's just different. Like I said, I love all paper, but now when you come over to this section where I added all that water to, look at how harsh the detail is. It's not a smooth blend, it's harsher, and yet it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful to look at this. Is my finger making you nauseous because it's blurry? I'll keep it out of the frame. Here, I'll point with this. So in here, you see a lot of texture in here because this is a granulating paint. It's still gonna granulate. It's just whether it looks harsh or not. So when you put those two together, you see on the rough paper, you see the paper texture come through in the granulation, whereas there's no paper texture to come through here. So you just see the granulation of the paint. Still, just as beautiful. They're both beautiful. It's just a matter of what you like. That's the only difference. Do you want to see the paper texture come through, or do you want to see not? Now, if you go to the transparent one, you will see there's no paper texture to come through at all. So all you see is the paint. And even though this is a completely transparent, non-granulating paint, you still see a little bit of something up here when you look real close. When you look at it in life, when you're holding this in your hand, it's just because of how concentrated I first laid it down. Once you get into this section down here, it's gone. You don't see that. But you do not see any paper texture, whereas on this one, you see all that paper texture coming through. Now here, again, there's no softness here. There's nothing to absorb where the paint is running, where the water is running. So it's very harsh lines on hot press paper, very harsh lines. If you don't like this, then don't use this kind of paper. Even though your pen strokes will be smoother, the paint will not be. It'll be harsher. That's just how it is. However, let's get into what I do with paint. So with this type of painting, I usually outline. Now this does give a hard outline. See how harsh that is here? It's a very hard line here, and it's very bright at the very edge, but not in. As soon as you get in a little bit, it fades. But this would be good for me if I'm going to start doing stuff. I'm going to start following the line, and that's how I'm going to create this piece. I'm going to just keep making all the lines that I see and just go through it and see these little, the differentiation of where the lines are and how the paint flowed through the paper. I'm going to put that into my painting. And that's how I'm going to create my whole painting. So I'm going to put these colors next to each other, bloom out from around the edges of them, and then just put all the lines in where I see any kind of differentiation in the paint itself with the water, where it separated itself from. That's how I'm going to create my entire piece. Here, it's much harder to do that. What I would need to do is introduce a second color while this was still wet, so that I had some kind of differentiation in here to create that color. So for the style that I create, I either have to use a ton of water first and then put the paint into it, or I would need to put a second color into this to get a little bit of, right now there's not a lot of space here to do that. I see a little bit like right up in here, I see a little bit right here, and then I see a little bit maybe over here, there's some, but there's not really anywhere for me to put my line work. I'd have to create my lines on the fly here, and I don't normally do that. I like to put the lines in where I see the differentiation in the color. So that's something that I really like to do, and that's what I would end up doing on this whole piece. Same thing here. Even though you can see these little ripples on the edge here, you see the lighter kind of color here where I was going with the brush back and forth, and you see that. That's about what I'd have to do to this section here to do the same thing that I'm used to doing, is just do that all the way around it. Because in here, there's not a lot of space forming. You can pick an area where there's maybe some of that darker color where it's going through, but it's you'd have to pick and choose. There's so much of it, you're gonna pick and choose. Here, however, much different story. I have to be honest with you, this looks beautiful all by itself. If you filled up an entire page of just this paint, it would look beautiful all by itself. You'd never have to do anything. So there's not two different pigments here. There's only one. Now, it's not the regular PBR7, which is a brown iron oxide. It's the PBR6, which is the iron oxide hydroxide brown. They actually oxidize a black pigment to get this pigment, which is why you see that little bit of black in it. But this is a brown pigment, a solid single pigment color. But it does separate within itself. It's a beautiful color. I love this color. So this would be great if you were doing a mountain thing or something like that. You're doing landscape, you're doing a mountain. Beautiful color. It's beautiful for anything. I love this color. It's one of my favorite colors that there is. Now let's move over Now this is a fully transparent color. Again, you have a little bit of an issue with looking and seeing what am I doing with this, but I can see some. So I can see that there's a little bit of color that comes down here and kind of goes this way and comes back around. Of course, up by the top, you can see a little bit where it kind of goes into itself with the darker color here, and you can do something there. But you see a little bit of it here, not a lot still. But now I see paper texture. Again, I'd add a second color into that. Usually when I have a transparent color, that's what I do, add a second color. Move over here and you see less of, you still see a little bit of hard edge here, but it's less, it's much smoother in here. So you'd have to look at little things in here. You have some other colors that come up like this, other colors. I say darker tint that comes up like that. There's also a little bit more that comes out like this, that you can come down this way. There's just more to work with overall when you have some texture on it, just like you did on the other one. Here you have a much different example of the granulation versus what you had in the other one. So this one I still see there's a lot of color differentiation in here. I would still use it. There's plenty here, and I can see definitely some colors in here that are changing everything. So there's plenty in the stuff where you've added a lot of water. In this section, is there a lot? Not a whole lot. So you will see me oftentimes when I use a solid color, put another color into it to create that texture, to create that little bit of difference. Or I'll go back in with the same color on top of itself so that this darker concentrate kind of comes down into certain sections of this piece, and then I can just outline that piece just the way that it is. But when you have water introduced into it, it creates a different texture. Either way, the one thing that this does have is the addition of seeing the paper, the shadow and paper in here. It almost gives it another dimension, another layer of dimension. Whereas on the hot press, there's none of that in here. You don't see any different dimension in here. So it looks a little bit more interesting on the other one, on the rough paper, if you're not adding a ton of water. If you're adding a ton of water, it almost looks a little bit more interesting on the hot press paper because there's a little bit more going on. And I think these two are the best examples of that. This is the rough paper. You can see the paper texture all through it, so it does give some dimension here, but this did not have paper. So you still see a lot of dimension in here, but it's only created by the paint. So if you don't have an interesting paint to use, there wouldn't be as much stuff here. But there is a lot of stuff here, even if it's a smooth paint, because you have the paper coming through. That's the only real difference. I like them both. I love paper. That's what I love to do. That's what I love to use. So I will use them both. But it's just an idea of why I like the rough paper, is because I like to see that come through. Let me show you something else. Okay, here's an example of a hot press paper that I put watercolor down on that I had to keep charging in color. And that's how I create the different effects in here. So I put the paint on first, just put an area, and then I went back in while it was still wet and charged in certain areas and created patterns and forms inside here. It was just very simple. I just said, anywhere you see a darker spot, that's where I dipped the brush back in and just tapped it with some color and made a shape with it. That's the only way that this happened. Otherwise, you get more of like this. See how smooth these colors are in here? There's a little bit of color difference in here as I was swatching them out. These are also inks, but it's the same thing. Some of these are watercolor, most of them are ink. Anyway, this is all smooth. It's very smooth. There's a couple little areas that were darker, and I put in some detail in those dark, but I had to create that. I had to put the more ink in that area to create more, and then I was able to put some line work in there. Otherwise, this was just smooth. This was done on a cold press paper, but this is actually very rough. These are the Etcher sketchbooks, by the way. That one was the hot press. This is the cold press one. And you can see, let me point with this thing. You can see all in here, the paper texture coming through as the paint's sitting there. So it makes it look more interesting, even though there's not a whole lot going on here. I did mix some colors in here and put some different ones in here, but it would look less interesting if this was a hot press paper when I did this, because there wouldn't be any texture in here. So even in this lighter area here, you can see that paper texture in there. Now, some people don't like that. If you don't like that, then don't use this kind of paper. If that's not your thing, don't do it. That's what it'll do. That's the purpose of using this paper, is so that it does that. It's also very soft. It softens the edges of all your paints versus the hot press paper, which you can see more lines in. And again, every paper acts a little bit differently, so test your paper. But as a rule of thumb, you just, whenever you have any kind of texture in the paper, it usually comes through. You can see it come through. It pops right through the whole thing, and you can see it. Okay, so let's say that that's a terrible explanation of everything that I do. Forget about that. Listen, here's the thing. You have to figure out what you enjoy using and use that. But experiment with everything. I just painted with this paper, and I absolutely loved it. There was nothing, not only was there nothing wrong with it, I loved painting on it. It did blend the color more, so keep that in mind. When you have paper that's more textured, it blends the color more. If I had something that was a little less textured, like what I usually use is the B paper. That B paper is cold pressed, but it's much less textured than this. So if I put a color into another color, it usually stays put, and when it dries, you can see where I put it. This one, it kept blending. It just kept blending. Every time I put another color into it, it kept blending. So I had to wait for it to dry a little before I would add the next layer. That's the difference. There's a difference there. You have to do that. Overall, I absolutely loved creating with this paper. It was beautiful. It was a wonderful experience. It did some things that I'm not used to because I don't use quite as textured paper. This is like painting on asphalt. This is more textured than any paper I've ever seen in my life, but it's just so wonderful and beautiful. Let me see if I hold this up. Can you see the texture of the paper? Is that too close? I don't want to get too close because I want you to see it, but the texture of the paper is just absolutely wonderful. I love it. They are very proud of the fact that this is leftover cotton that's used from the textile industry, and they take that cotton that's left over and then they make paper with it. So it's kind of a recycling kind of thing that they do here. But all in all, this paper is great. I don't know, maybe there are some inconsistencies as I paint through the book. I'll have to find that out. There was none on this page. I almost put paint on every part of this page. There's a little bit of white on the top and sides, but everything else there's paint on, no inconsistencies. It all acted the same. And the darks get really dark and stay really dark. So I have two spots on here. One is an indigo and the other one was a Payne's gray. They got dark and they stayed dark. They didn't lighten up at all because the water really didn't have anywhere to go. It just kind of stayed in that area and then just dried there. So very interesting. And it wasn't abnormally long to dry either. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, the paint never dries on this. And I was telling you that before. You may not want to go out plein air painting with it, but I didn't have that issue. Everything dried just like it's supposed to. I don't know. There's a lot of complaints about this paper and I don't understand them. So we'll see. It could be, but now listen, anytime someone buys something with their own money, you have to go the opposite here. People think, oh, if something's given to you, of course you're going to say something good about it because it's given to you. But if you buy something with your own money, you also have to say something good about it because your brain is telling you you have to justify you just spent money on it. So you have two things working against you there, no matter what you do. But the colors that came off on this are beautiful. They popped. They stayed bright and vibrant, saturated. I love it. And this is a muted palette that I use. This is my standard core Daniel Smith palette that I always use. And it just, everything worked wonderfully. The paints stayed on there beautifully, just like what I would have wanted from any watercolor paper. No issues. And what I used was a brush pen. So I signed my name with an 05 fine liner. And that, yeah, there was a little skippage, but not really. Maybe a little bit skipping, but not really. Then what I did the whole rest of the video on was this. Can you see that? It's a fine liner set from Unipin, but it is a brush pen. So it's like a little bit of felt at the end. So it holds up really well because it's just felt. But it's surrounded, it's like wrapped in plastic, and then felt sticks out the top a little bit. It worked just fine. If you use like Pigma microns, you might have an issue on this one, because the Pigma micron, you almost have to hold that pen like straight up and down to get a solid line out of it. If you tilt it just a little bit, you're okay, but if you tilt it on a regular angle, it skips a lot. So on this paper, I wouldn't use that. But something like Unipin, or I have the Copic SP, that worked really well on it. I did try that on it as well. And then I don't know about some of the other ones, but they have these Unipins have just bigger tips on them. They're longer, so you can hold it at a better angle and still use it. It still works. I would just keep track of that. If you're using something, just test everything on the paper before you say, oh, I'm going to try and do a full piece with it, and then it messes up on you if that's something that you care about. I don't care ever about anything. If something messes up, I'm still happy because I'm just still creating with it, and I just roll with it. You got to learn to roll with it. People are so stuck in their own ways sometimes, and they just do things the way that they want to do it, the only way that they know how, or whatever. But you also have to like how you're doing it. So if you don't like how you have to use it, then don't use it. That's the most important part, is that you have fun using it. But the way that I approach art, I use something and try and figure out how the best way to use it is. And then decide, do I like creating that way or do I not like creating that way? I don't say, this is the way I create, and that's how I have to put it on the paper. And if it doesn't work that way, then the paper's no good, the paint's no good, the pen's no good. I don't do that. I just say, hey, am I having fun creating with this product? If I have fun, I'll keep creating with it that way that it needs to be used. And if not, I won't. There's going to be some different things happening. This is during the day. One of the rare videos during the day, I just saw the light change a little bit. It's going to happen a little bit. I have a window. I actually have behind that curtain, there's towels blocking the light, but from further down on the window, I don't have the whole thing blocked. I have to get some kind of thing to put up behind it so that I can make sure that there's no light coming in here if I want to record during the day. It's just, that's why I do it at night, because there's no change. I don't have a window behind me and there's no changing light. I do it at night. That's the best time to do it for me anyway. But get back to this. I enjoyed this. I loved it. I hope you would enjoy using something like this. If you don't enjoy rough paper, don't get this book. It's rough paper. Don't get the book and yell at me. It's not my fault you got the book. But if you like rough paper, this is an amazing book. I absolutely love it. There's paper. This is the back of the cover. There's paper on the back of the cover, and it's glued onto there. So it's just wonderful. And it's on the back. The very, very back is also, and I put the little thing of what the paper is in the back. But this is paper. This is a piece of the paper glued to the back. So that means you can paint on the covers. I usually don't do that because they don't usually allow you to do that. But this one does. So this is a little bit shorter of a video this week. Some people are relieved at that. It's probably going to get more views because of it. People don't like the marathon videos sometimes. I do, but not all the time. So I'm going to keep creating. However long the video is how long it took me to create it. How about that? That's just how it's going to be. We have a couple things coming up. I have 2 more sets to test out. They're not very big, but I cannot wait. I've got 2 just waiting over there on a bench waiting for me to do the next 2 videos are going to be wonderful. I'm going to really enjoy them. So hopefully I can just get through them and it'll be wonderful. I'm going to wait. The DaVinci paints, I'm going to wait a little bit. I want to get the videos that I've done and get them over to DaVinci and see what they think of them. I would like to do something with them. Maybe I don't, but maybe they don't want to. Maybe they're not doing that right now. I have no idea. But if they don't, that's okay too. I'm still going to get the paints and colors that I want. And then I will show you which ones I got. Most people were not very interested in those videos. They got a lot less views than I was expecting. At least the first couple that have gone up so far. When this video's recording this one, there's only been like 2 videos that have gone up, but people did not like them very much. They are my 2 lowest videos on the channel so far for I'd probably say this year. So that's not a good thing, but that's okay. I had fun, you had fun, we all had fun. We're doing fine. Anyway, I wanted to bring up, did you see Derwent came out with the new drawing pencils? Their new colored pencils, the drawing pencils, I have the original set and I absolutely love them. So they expanded them to 72 colors. They're expensive. They were not expensive when I bought the other set. When I bought my set, they were like $1 or $1.25 a pencil. So that would still bring that 72 set under $100. Nope, not this time. The last one I saw, I think it was like over $200 for the set of 72. That's more than two. I don't know what happened there. Well, things changed. That was a while ago when I bought that. That was a long time ago. And life happens. They're up to about $222 per pencil or $223 per pencil. That's a lot per pencil. That's over on Blick's site. They're not on Amazon anymore. They're out of stock. People have bought those things up. They're a great set. The color palette is beautiful. Those earthy woodland tones, I absolutely love them. But my goodness, I might have to get them eventually, but I will not be getting them anytime soon. That's a very expensive set of pencils. It's actually a couple of cents cheaper if you just buy each individual pencil at $2.21 each. It's a little couple cents less. You'll save some pennies on that if you buy each individual pencil, or just the colors you like. That's fine too. But how do you know that unless you get the colors and swatch them out? Because they don't look like what they look like on the website. So that's interesting. Why am I talking about pencils? I don't know. It was just something I wanted to bring up. I saw it and I wanted to tell you about it. Is that okay? I think that's okay. I think that's, you know what? I'm going to ask these people popping up on the screen here. Let's see if they think it's okay. I think they think it's okay. But I think you do too. We're doing fine here. Everything's great. So thumb up the video if you are first going to check out that eye massager from Bob and Brad. Oh my goodness, that's a daily thing. I have that on all the time. I love it. And it lasts a long time too. It's not a big deal at all. It lasts wonderfully. So go ahead and get one of those. You got to check that thing out. That's my favorite thing that I have so far from them. Absolutely wonderful. And also, if you want to check out this book, you can thumb up the video for that too. This book is great. I did really enjoy it. It's just, it's hard to explain. If you like textured paper, you will absolutely love this. It will not be a question. You will love this paper if you like the textured paper. If you don't get it. It's just not for you. But if you do, my goodness, I just want to keep creating on it. And that's how you know it's a good art supply. If it makes you want to create, it's a good art supply. I want to take this right now and go do a little line wash, maybe a little landscape on it or something, because it's just wonderful. I absolutely love it. Okay, even though my mind is fresh because it's during the day, I'm sure I messed up a little bit. Let's take a look at that. So as always, I have something special. It's the Shizen. It's not Shizen. What is it called? Shizen. It's Shizen. Got to get the name of the product right, Pete. See how that tip is a little bit longer? That's the regular 05, and this one here, oh, I gotta take the cap off so you can see it. So this is the felt tip brush pen. Can you see the difference in the nib? You probably can't see that. I should do that from a top down or something. You can't see that. I know what you're thinking. Why would I get another sketchbook? I don't know. I have a lot of sketchbooks. I don't want to say that. They're very proud of the fact that this is cotton paper that's made from the leftover cotton that's lewd. So I signed my name with an 05 pen. You know, the regular fine line. But I was even looking, they have a wood box set. Some people bought that. It's over $300 for the set of 72. Oh no, that's Inktense. That's not even the right ones. Oh my goodness. You have to experience this at least once. All right, I'm not going to do the video right now. Go away. Go away. If you'd like to join our community, head over to illustrationsbypete.com. You can just check some things out. You go through the site however you want and sign up for the newsletter that I almost never send out because I don't want to annoy the crap out of you more than I already do with my nonsense in these videos. But I'd love to hear from you, so come on over. All right.